In a palace ruled by iron and fire, love blooms where it is most forbidden. The morning mist clung to the palace gardens, curling around carved stone lanterns and the silvered koi pond. Each droplet of dew caught the faint sunlight, shimmering like fragile jewels. Li Wei, the crown prince, moved with an almost predatory grace along the marble corridor, his black and gold robes whispering against the polished floor. Every step he took radiated authority, silent, intimidating, and precise. From the shadowed archway emerged Qing Yu, his pale, delicate frame almost swallowed by the grand courtyard. He carried a tray of steaming tea, his fingers trembling slightly as they hovered over the cup. Even after 10 years in the palace, the weight of serving the crown prince never seemed to lessen. You dropped this, your highness, Qing Yu stammered, bowing low as he handed over a neatly folded letter. Li Wei's golden eyes flickered down at the letter, then back to the servant's face. Careless as always, Qing Yu, he said, voice smooth but biting. How many times must I scold you before you learn? Or do you find my temper amusing? Qing Yu's lips quivered. He lowered his gaze, cheeks tinged pink. Am I only worthy of scolding? He wondered. Yet, beneath the fear, his heart raced with a dangerous kind of excitement. Every reprimand, every harsh word, carried an intimacy he could not escape. Li Wei bent slightly, brushing a stray lock of hair from Qing Yu's forehead. His touch was fleeting, yet it burned through the young servant like fire. And yet, you endure it, Li Wei murmured, voice softer for the briefest of moments. Foolish boy, Qing Yu's breath caught. The world outside the palace walls faded, leaving only the prince and the unspoken tension between them. I would follow him anywhere, he thought, though he knew such feelings were perilous. Li Wei's eyes lingered on him a moment longer, cold yet strangely tender. Then, without warning, he turned, his cloak flowing behind him like a shadow in the morning light. Qing Yu exhaled shakily, clutching the tea tray tighter. How can someone so cold make my heart race so fiercely? Even the koi in the pond seemed to pause, as if sensing the silent storm of emotions swirling between master and servant. Between parchment and ink, secrets whispered louder than any decree. The library was vast and silent, sunlight spilling across rows of gilded books and ancient scrolls. Qing Yu perched on a ladder, hands trembling slightly as he reached for a high shelf. Each scroll seemed heavier than the last, as if the palace itself bore witness to the danger of forbidden secrets. Li Wei stood nearby, tall and imposing, his golden eyes scanning the room as though he could read every book and every thought at once. His fingers hovered over a scroll, then withdrew, brushing against the polished wood of the table. You're staring again, Qing Yu whispered, his voice barely audible. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest. Li Wei's lips curved faintly, the hint of a smile that never fully reached his eyes. Am I? Perhaps? I am merely observing my loyal servant. Qing Yu felt heat rise to his cheeks. Loyal? Or merely the pawn of a prince's cruel games? The line was impossibly blurred. Li Wei moved closer, the air between them tightening. Tell me, he murmured, leaning down just enough for his words to brush against Qing Yu's ear. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if the world allowed what our hearts desire? Qing Yu's pulse quickened. I cannot, he admitted softly, bowing his head. It is forbidden. Li Wei's voice dropped, almost a growl. Forbidden? Perhaps the only thing truly forbidden is weakness.
And yet, here you are, trembling, still beside me. Does that not make you stronger than all the emperors, all the guards, all the laws of this palace? Qing Yu's heart ached. I would risk everything for him. He dared to glance up at Li Wei's golden gaze and saw a flicker of something he had never expected. Longing.
Li Wei's hand brushed against Qing Yu's as he reached for a scroll. The contact was fleeting, but it lingered, a silent promise neither dared speak aloud. Qing Yu swallowed hard, gripping the scroll tighter. If only he knew. A father's wrath can topple empires, but love can topple fathers. The emperor sat beneath a crimson silk canopy, eyes like molten iron. Courtiers bowed, trembling, yet none dared look him in the eye. His voice, when he spoke, rolled over the room like a storm. "My son," he said, his gaze fixed on Li Wei, "your heart wanders where it should not. I know of your attachment to Qing Yu." Li Wei's jaw tightened, muscles taut beneath the black and gold robes. "Father..." His tone was deceptively calm, though a storm raged behind his golden eyes. "You will marry a proper noblewoman, produce an heir, and secure this dynasty. This foolishness cannot continue." The emperor's fist slammed against the armrest. "Qing Yu is to be arrested. He will be taught obedience or punished." Qing Yu, summoned and trembling at the chamber's edge, clutched his robes, eyes wide with fear. "No, this cannot be." Li Wei's hand clenched beneath his robes, fists shaking with rage and desperation. "Do not touch him," he said, voice low, dangerous. The emperor's eyes narrowed. "I will not tolerate disobedience. Love is a luxury for the weak, Li Wei. You either obey or perish along with him." Qing Yu's knees nearly gave way, but he did not look away. "I will endure anything for him." His gaze locked onto Li Wei's, silent yet full of pleading. Li Wei's golden eyes softened for only a heartbeat, a fleeting glimpse of vulnerability, but the steel returned instantly. "Then we end this, father. Or I die with him." Chains cannot bind the heart, but fear can shatter the mind. The dungeon was a labyrinth of stone and shadow. Chains rattled as guards shoved Qing Yu into a cell, his wrists raw from the shackles. The air was thick with the stench of mildew and iron, a cold, suffocating weight pressing down on him. "Qing Yu." Li Wei's voice cut through the darkness like lightning. His black and gold robes flared as he stormed forward, eyes blazing with fury. "Your Highness, Qing Yu choked back a sob, collapsing to his knees. Silence. Li Wei bellowed, pressing a gloved hand to the iron bars that separated them. His eyes softened only for the briefest instant. "I should have protected you. I failed." Qing Yu's trembling hands clutched the bars. "I would rather die than live without you." Li Wei's face darkened. "No, I will not let this happen." He gritted his teeth. "Then we fight, or die together." The prince's words were steel and fire. Qing Yu's heart swelled, both terrified and exhilarated. For the first time, he allowed himself a thought that was dangerous yet irresistible. "I belong to him, and he belongs to me." Li Wei paced the corridors of the palace, each step echoing like a drumbeat in the empty halls. His mind churned with anger and desperation, thoughts of Qing Yu chained in the dungeon, fueling a storm he could no longer contain. Every whisper of the courtiers, every glance from the guards, seemed to mock him reminders of a system that valued duty over heart, obedience over love. He clenched his fists, feeling the weight of the crown pressing down, heavier than ever. "If the world will not bend for love, then I will shatter it myself." In the shadows, Qing Yu's face haunted him. The soft blush, the nervous trembling, the unwavering loyalty despite fear, it all burned in Li Wei's chest like wildfire. He could no longer stand idle, waiting for permission or mercy. The palace, with its golden halls and ornate chandeliers, had become a gilded cage, and the laws of men could no longer bind the heart of the crown prince. Every strategy he considered, every soldier he commanded, was a step toward freeing the one he loved, even if it meant spilling blood in the very halls of his father's rule. When a crown becomes a cage, only fire can set it free. Li Wei stood atop the palace battlements, wind lashing through his black and gold robes. Below, the city slept under the silver moonlight, unaware of the storm about to erupt. The cold night air did nothing to quell the fire in his chest. Every order of his father, Every unjust law, every cruelty inflicted upon Qing Yu had built this inferno. Tonight he would either free the man he loved or die trying. "The palace will crumble if I must," he whispered to himself, fingers brushing the hilt of his sword. The moonlight caught the gold embroidery of his robe, making him look like a shadowed emperor poised on the edge of destiny. In the distance, torches flickered as his loyal soldiers moved silently, ready to storm the gates. As the first alarm bells rang, Li Wei's voice rang out over the chaos. "For the crown, for Qing Yu, forward!" The guards, once instruments of his father's cruelty, now obeyed him with reverence. Knowing their prince fought for more than duty, he fought for love. The palace erupted in violence. Li Wei moved like a shadow, every strike of his sword precise, lethal, yet restrained, not out of mercy for the guards, but to preserve his city. Still, the deeper he fought, the more the weight of vengeance pressed on him. He remembered Qing Yu in the dungeon, trembling, and each memory became a dagger in his heart. Finally, reaching the dungeon, Li Wei shattered the iron lock with a single strike, the sound echoing like thunder. Qing Yu stumbled forward into his arms, tears streaking his pale cheeks. "You came for me?" he whispered, voice shaking. "I promised," Li Wei murmured, cradling him close. "I will not lose you, not to chains, not to law, not even to death." Qing Yu clung to him, trembling. I'm so scared. You have nothing to fear while I stand," Li Wei said, his golden eyes glinting in the torchlight. "I will tear down anyone who tries to take you from me." They escaped into the night, the palace behind them ablaze with the revolution that Li Wei had ignited, not just against his father, but against a world that sought to deny their love. The city's night sky, painted with fire and shadow, bore witness to a love so fierce it would not be caged. A crown can crush a man, but love can make him a king. The throne room gleamed with gold and crystal. Li Wei, now emperor, ascended the steps with Qing Yu at his side. Every eye in the room trembled under his gaze, from noble lords to palace guards. The fallen emperor's portrait loomed overhead, a silent reminder of what had been lost and what had been gained. Li Wei's golden eyes met the assembly. "Today marks the beginning of a new era," he declared, voice ringing with authority and emotion. "An era where the heart is not bound by law or fear." Qing Yu, pale and radiant in Phoenix Empress robes, stepped forward, his delicate hand brushing Li Wei's. The courtiers gasped, some in awe, some in disbelief. The man who had once been a lowly servant now stood beside the emperor, not as subordinate but as partner, equal in presence and honor. Li Wei's gaze softened only for Qing Yu. "No law will divide us again," he murmured. "The heart must rule where the sword cannot, and today we write a new law." The court erupted in whispers, some skeptical, others cautious admiration. Yet Li Wei's presence silenced any dissent before it could form. "Love," he continued, "is not a weakness but a strength. And I, as emperor, decree that all shall be free to follow the heart without fear of persecution." Qing Yu's nervous blush deepened, but his eyes shone with pride. I am yours," he said softly, voice barely above a whisper. "And I am yours," Li Wei replied, pressing his lips to Qing Yu's forehead. For a fleeting moment, the weight of the crown lifted, leaving only the quiet triumph of love made law. Even after the coronation, Li Wei found himself walking the empty corridors late at night, Qing Yu always at his side. The weight of the crown pressed down on him, yet the warmth of Qing Yu's hand in his gave him strength he had never known. Every decree, every new law, every wary glance from the court reminded him of the precarious balance between power and love. Yet for the first time in his life, he felt a sense of purpose beyond the throne. He had fought for someone worth every sacrifice. Qing Yu, now more confident in his role beside Li Wei, often stayed close as the emperor reviewed affairs of state. Despite the lingering whispers of dissent, he no longer trembled in fear. Instead, he offered quiet counsel, soft smiles, and unwavering loyalty. Together, they navigated the new era they had forged, an era where love was law and hearts no longer cowered behind chains. Their bond, once forbidden, had become the foundation of an empire built not on fear, but on devotion and courage. Even in a palace of stone, love can grow like spring after winter. Cherry blossoms drifted lazily through the warm spring breeze, their pale pink petals settling softly on the stone pathways of the palace gardens. The koi pond mirrored the gentle sunlight, rippling with reflections of two figures walking hand in hand. Li Wei, tall, commanding, and golden-eyed even in casual black and gold robes, moved with a quiet authority. Beside him, Qing Yu's delicate pale frame floated with a light grace, his servant's robe now replaced with elegant, understated clothing that still marked him as beloved of the emperor. "Look at them, the koi," Qing Yu whispered softly, his voice barely above the rustling leaves. "They swim together. Always, even when the waters move." Li Wei glanced down at him, lips twitching into the faintest smile. "Like us," he murmured. "No matter what storms came, we always found each other." He brushed a stray strand of pale hair from Qing Yu's forehead, his gloved hand lingering for a heartbeat longer than necessary. Qing Yu's cheeks flushed at the touch, and he swallowed hard, feeling the old nervous thrill of being near Li Wei, a feeling that had never truly faded. Even after a year of peace, the gardens were alive with the sounds of spring. Birds chirping in the cherry trees, the soft rustle of silk robes, and the distant laughter of palace children playing under the watchful eyes of guards. Li Wei and Qing Yu wandered past the stone bridge arching over the koi pond, petals swirling around their feet like delicate pink snow. The world had changed. The palace that once imprisoned them now became a sanctuary, a place where love had triumphed over fear and cruelty. Qing Yu's hand tightened around Li Wei's. "I sometimes still can't believe it," he admitted, voice trembling. "After everything, after the dungeon, the rebellion, the coronation, we made it here, together." Li Wei's golden gaze softened, yet a spark of his old intensity remained. "Do you think the world will ever truly understand what we've endured?" he asked, voice low. "Maybe not, but that doesn't matter. The only opinion that counts is yours." Qing Yu blinked, emotion catching in his throat. He looked up at the emperor, not as a fearful servant, but as a man who had shared in everything, who had lived through pain and passion alike. "Then I am yours," he whispered, leaning into Li Wei's side. Their hands entwined so tightly it was as if letting go was impossible. Li Wei's lips brushed the top of Qing Yu's head in a tender, lingering kiss. And for the first time in 10 years, he allowed himself to fully release the tension that had built through rebellion, bloodshed, and fear. "And I am yours," he replied, his voice carrying the promise of eternity. "Forever." As they strolled deeper into the gardens, the palace seemed to breathe around them. Blossoms fell like gentle rain. Sunlight danced across the pond, and the soft hum of life continued, birds, wind, and the distant murmurs of the court, all mingling into a melody of peace and renewal. Li Wei paused on the stone bridge, looking down at their reflections. Two hearts intertwined, a reflection of love forged in fire and crowned by courage. "Do you remember?" Li Wei asked, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "The first day you brought me tea in the courtyard?" Qing Yu laughed softly, the sound trembling with memory and joy. "I thought I would be scolded forever." "And yet," Li Wei said, pulling him close once more, "I never let you go. Not then. Not during the dungeon. Not even when the palace burned. You've been mine all along." Qing Yu's cheeks burned, but his eyes shone with unwavering devotion. "And I've been yours," he replied. "All this time, even when it was forbidden. I loved you." They stood together on the bridge, hands entwined, gazing at the koi pond where the water shimmered like liquid sunlight. The petals fell around them, painting the scene in pink and gold, and for a moment, the palace was not a place of chains or law or duty. It was a garden of freedom, a sanctuary of hearts. Even the empire itself seemed to bow to their love. Courtiers and guards who had once whispered behind closed doors now watched with cautious respect, as the crown prince and his servant, now emperor and empress, walked together openly, hand in hand. Their love had endured, had conquered fear, and had reshaped the palace from a cage into a home. Qing Yu leaned into Li Wei's side again, heart swelling. "Do you think our story will ever end?" Li Wei's lips pressed softly to his temple. No story truly ends, he whispered. It only grows stronger, like these gardens. And as long as we're together, it will last forever. The wind picked up, carrying petals across the pond and through the palace grounds. Li Wei and Qing Yu laughed together, a quiet, warm sound that echoed through the cherry trees. The empire, once rigid and cold, had learned a new language. The language of love, courage, and freedom. And in that garden, beneath the spring sun and falling blossoms, the crown prince and his beloved servant finally knew a peace they had fought a lifetime to achieve. The story of Li Wei and Qing Yu will live on echoing through palace corridors, whispered among petals, and carried by the winds of history, and perhaps, one day, it will inspire hearts brave enough to defy the world for love. If you loved Li Wei and Qing Yu's forbidden love, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe and turn on notifications to follow more epic BL stories and palace romances. Comment below, which moment made your heart skip a beat? We love reading your thoughts. Share this story with your friends and spread the love.